It's always good to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having us, and good morning to all your listeners across the continent.
So we've just been hearing that some of the results have started to trickle in. I don't know if you've been monitoring them, but what do you know? What are they saying so far?
Well, yeah, I've been monitoring them. I do not even sleep, so I think there's a lot of interest in terms of what's going on in the country. But so far, things are really coming out on the stronger side in terms of the will of the people. So if one looks at, for example, the actual dashboard of the Malawi Electoral Commission, it is telling us that now 62.83% was a turnout in terms of these elections, with dominantly women actually taking
Peter,
up a big share in terms of voter turnout at 57.16%.
So what are they pointing to? I know it's still early, but who seems to have taken an early lead?
Well, I think if we can classify them as an official results or an official results that are coming in from different centers, so far it seems to be pointing a strong lead for the former president Peter Mutharika.
What does that tell us? Is that the economic issues were really the driving force and people want change, or what does it tell you?
I think it's a combination of so many factors here, but I think what is actually coming out very strongly also is the fact that where you were expecting that this is a stronghold for the current president. For example, in some districts in the central region, such as in Shehu, Salima, Kotakota, Kasungu, and Chinji. Those have been predominantly the MCP, Malawi Congress Party strongholds. But we're seeing a change in terms of how people are voting. So people are voting more towards the former president Peter Mutharika. So it's telling us that there is a change in the dynamics with regard to what is informing the voters. I think strongly enough, the economy in terms of the cost of living have really shown a significant shift in terms of the patterns towards voting in Malawi. So it seems to be more or less like an issue-based kind of voting pattern in the Malawi context now.
So if we assume that the economy and the state of play, inflation, fuel shortages, you name it, are the big issues of the day, what did former President Mutharika say that he was going to do with the economy, and what do you make of the promises that he made?
Well, there was a direct comparison. Obviously, the former president Peter Mutharika's party ran a very strong campaign towards in terms of what was happening in the economy during his time, vis-a-vis what is currently happening during the time of President Chakwera. So there was a strong comparison in terms of high inflation rates. For instance, during his term, the inflation rate, or he left the country, the inflation rate of just around 8%. But the current regime, we are talking about inflation rate now sitting at 27.3%. So it's direct comparison of the economy in terms of how the economy was managed. Local spending, for instance, from this current regime has been one of the issues that people have actually seen that lavish spending, lavish lifestyle from the politicians that are serving government vis-a-vis in relation to the poverty levels of the people. The high unemployment by the youth and also women has also been something which has actually been highly significant. Reports have been coming out, 91% in terms of unemployment in Malawi, very, very significant impact towards the locals in the country. Obviously, you have mentioned fuel shortages. It's something which is visible because as we go into the elections, we've been seeing, for instance, fuel queues, vehicles being parked, so which in a way has shown a visible approach in terms of the problems the country is facing. So people have done their core, they have made their judgment, and they are saying that look here, we never had these fuel shortages during the time of Peter Mutharika. We never had problems in terms of fertilizer distribution during the time of Mutharika. And I think they have made their choices in terms of where they want to see the direction of the country going forward.
How culpable is the outgoing or current administration in terms of the woes that the country is facing at the moment? They will tell us that they inherited a lot of problems and it actually takes time to change things. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I take that with a pinch of salt, because when you're going into power, when you're doing elections, you know what problems the country is facing. So unless you tell one is saying that no, they do not have the capacity to have a clear understanding of what's going on in the country. So you go into elections knowing the problems and then knowing how to solve them. So that's a key element. And obviously you cannot you put a time frame in terms of how you're going to solve the problems, and all that have to be indicated to the people. They promised the country too many things: jobs of over 1 million, fertilizer prices of below of the 500 kwachas. But if you look at the opposite have actually happened, where instead the country has faced high unemployment. The prices of fertilizer in Malawi is now over 100,000 kwachas. So a total diversion away from their promises. So realistically, I think also the other issue that actually created this environment is the issue of so many lies. For example, when you talk about corruption, you are fighting corruption, but yet you arrest the Director General for Anti-Corruption Bureau. Those issues, I think, they have come to hit back. You're talking about a bridging foundation, kind of a lie which was created to say that Malawi will be receiving over billions and billions of US dollars. They even had a state function around it. And all that turned out to be a lie. So people have also been observing this thing. But I think on the political side, realistically, the death of former Vice President Saros Chilima has actually also played a role in terms of diversion of the votes towards the former president. So I think it's a number of cocktail of issues that Malawi has actually been facing, both on the economic side but also on the political side.
Had you been in Dr. Chakwera's cabinet, what would you have advised him to do?
Well, I'd not even have to be in the cabinet itself, because I think I've been talking on this forum on the issue that now the country is facing. I've been for almost 4 to 5 years advising this government without even any pinch of payment, because it's a question about loving the country, being patriotic. I think the biggest problem with the presidency or administration of Chakwera is state arrogance. State arrogance would imply that no, when the wrongs are happening, you tend to ignore them, and then people are seeing that no, the wrong things are happening. For example, selective justice in terms of corruption. People who are seen to be doing wrong or alleged to be corrupt are still being kept in high position in government. I think that comes with element of state arrogance. So state arrogance, I think, can cost you a ruling party in terms of elections, and I think it's coming out very clear.
Whoever wins this election, what do they need to do first, and what can they do to fix what looks like a already dire situation?
First of all, is to stabilize the economy. Stabilizing the economy with element of fiscal discipline. Avoid reckless expenditure. Deal with corruption issues or allegations decisively. Take an approach to look at how best you can manage the economy from the monetary policy point of view, which means that no, a strong reserve bank positioning with regard to institutional reform. It is also about dealing with all the elements that can put people in terms of political stability. Peace is one of the key elements in terms of moving the country forward. So opening society in terms of engagement on issues, allowing the voice of the people to be heard on issues, I think will be becoming more key in terms of resolving the problems that the country is facing. So all these, I think, to me, will create room for an element of even attracting the investment into the country. But also, I think, in terms of how the mining deals have been done in Malawi, where, for instance, government is actually not even creating a conducive environment to the point where most of the minerals in Malawi have been exported and actually with no returns into the country for back in terms of stabilizing the forex environment in Malawi. So I think those elements I think need to be looked at carefully in terms of ensure that no, there is benefits to investment in Malawi in the mining sector. There is also element of diversification of the economy with regard to creating a foundation where the reliance on agriculture is actually moved away to the point where there is value addition in terms of development of the Malawi economy. I think also encouragement of more export diversification into the export basket of Malawi is also one of the key elements that no one has to look at in terms of stabilizing the Malawian economy.
Chifi Mhango, it's always great talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us on this very important time in Malawi's history.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you. That's Chifi Mhango, who's the Chief Economist and Director of Economic Research and Strategy at the Don Consultancy Group. Well, we've just been exploring the economic stakes of Malawi's election with economist Chifi Mhango. But beyond the economy, the credibility of the vote itself, which is equally important for Malawi's future. Regional bodies, including SADC, have been closely monitoring the polls to ensure that they meet international standards of transparency and fairness. Now, to help us understand how the process unfolded and how they saw things on the ground, we're now joined by Professor Kula Ishmael Theletsane, who's the Director of the Organ of Politics, Defence and Security Affairs at the SADC Secretariat. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the programme.
Okay. Thank you. Peter, good morning, and thank you for having me.
So, Prof, what have you seen in terms of how the process has gone with the Malawi's election this year?
Peter, from our observation, the team has been here from the beginning of the month. The observation was that it has been really, in terms of the preparations of the MEC, they have been well prepared. The conduct of the security force on the ground was professional from where we have observed. And I think all Malawians were really given a fair opportunity to exercise their democratic right.
How would you compare these polls to the 2019 that were very controversial and eventually got annulled actually in the courts and had to be rerun? Did you see major improvements this time around?
Yes, there were major improvements in terms of the preparedness of the MEC, in terms of the conduct of the voters themselves and political parties. There was much more tolerance right from the campaign up until people cast their votes. And I hope this spirit and this culture will prevail even beyond the announcements of the results.
What about transparency? Was it clear to see the process? Did you have the access that you needed and required to be able to satisfy yourself about things that were playing out?
Peter, it was very transparent. Even the MEC itself, for us as SADC, every time we need them, we needed to engage them. We wanted information. We called them to our offices. The chief herself will always be there to explain the process. They were transparent. They opened the doors for us yesterday during the polls. We observed right from the beginning of the process and until the polling stations were closed.
So you had no restrictions at all. You could go wherever you want, talk to whoever you want. And at the polling stations, no issues that you saw?
From what we've observed, there were no issues at all. Of course, there was some slight delay. And I would say the delay that we had, the most was about 7 to 10 minutes delay in terms of opening the polling station. Other than that, the process was really running very smoothly, and I must be say, I'm impressed of the preparedness of the MEC.
Do the issues that you've observed or heard about have a bearing on the overall result, or can we say that despite the challenges that may have come, like those delays, by and large, the will of the people will be seen to be heard?
You see, Peter, for example, if we observe a polling station when they open, we will also go and observe the very same polling station during the closing. And as much as they open 7 minutes late, by the time you go there during the closing, everybody has voted. It really did not have much impact on the outcomes. The issues that we have observed are really minor issues. And for us as SADC, we are guided by the SADC guidelines. We observe as to whether member states are really conducting themselves and their elections according to those guidelines. They are really minor, and they will not have any major impact on the outcome.
From your observation, what was the voter turnout like? Did people come out in their numbers?
Not what I expected compared to when I was in Botswana, when I was in Namibia. No, not that much. When we went for a press briefing yesterday, I think it was about 4 point something million that was reported, a turnout of a 7 million registered voters. It was not that. You can see the voter apathy that is prevailing in the country. But no, I don't think the turnout was as good as I expected.
So, do you think that perhaps things like voter education, I don't know if that's
I did,
something.
I did not, I did not. Oh, it's me. I
Mm.
don't know what happened. My apology. Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying things like voter education, that is an important part of the process. Are these things that you looked at and observed in the lead up to the elections itself?
What do you mean, Peter? I think I missed your point there,
I was
please.
just saying that the voter turnout may be low, partly because maybe people weren't aware, or and voter education often is a key element to free and fair elections. Did you see, observe, or make notes at all about the kind of preparation in terms of voter education that might have taken place before the election?
Peter, from what we observe and our engagement with the stakeholders, there were some allegations that most opposition parties, and I put it again, allegations, most opposition parties, they spread a message right in the beginning of the registration process that there is no need for people to go, and they actually discouraged people to go and register. If that is true, that could have been a contributing factor to the turnout. It could have been a contributing factor to many other things, but I'm not sure how far true is that. But Peter, what we have observed in terms of voter turnout, it's not unique to Malawi. I have seen that trend throughout SADC regions, that the voter turnout is not that good. I guess people are starting to lose faith in whoever they are leading them, on their leaders, because throughout the years, maybe they keep on voting and they are not getting what they were promised.
There was quite a bit of tension, and perhaps it's to do with campaigning before the election. During the election day itself, and even now, how have political parties been with each other?
It's very difficult to tell. It's a very quiet because Malawi does not even allow anything during the elections. So even like in South Africa, where you will find political parties closer to the polling stations, it's very quiet here. I don't hear anything on the media. So I guess, Peter, one would just have to wait until results are starting to come in. In many countries, that's where you will start hearing people talking, hearing political parties talking, and I think that's where you'll see where the mood is going of the country.
So, from your perspective, these elections, did they meet SADC standards and global standards, maybe even so far? Because I'm sure that there's still a little bit of a journey. The results process itself still has to be assessed.
Yes, Peter, thank you for that question. In terms of the SADC standard, we are observing. And we also observe beyond the release of the results, how political parties behave. So 30 days after the results are announced, we are still observing. And that's when we will release our final report. For me to say it has met the standard, it will be a bit premature to pronounce that at this stage.
Were there lots of other observers there beyond SADC?
There was quite a number of them. Even today we meet as observers because we are not here to compete. We are here to observe. We met 3 days ago. We are meeting again today to compare the notes. African Union is here. The European Union is here. I think it has been here longer than anyone else. They've been here from the beginning of August when I spoke to them. Comesa is also here, and there are other local observers and other observers coming from outside that I really do not know. But we met yesterday as we were going through the polling station. There's quite a number of them.
Okay, and perhaps looking ahead, are there any lessons that other countries can learn from the Malawi process this time around that you think might be positive and indicative of how elections should be?
Yes, I think the process was much more transparent, and even the election management body was keeping the public informed. There was quite a number of press briefings. I think yesterday there was 2 or 3 press briefings. So they are trying to keep the public and the observers informed of what is happening. Every small thing there is a press briefing so that they can keep the public informed. I think that for me is a plus for the country. And in terms of the preparedness, Peter, the police presence, and not even intimidating that kind of security force, but everything, I think it runs very smoothly.
All right, and perhaps finally, there are Malawians listening to us probably. What message would you like to share with them in terms of the fairness and the results that might come, because they look to you as an independent referee?
Yeah, Peter, what I would say to the Malawians, and I always say this in many elections, Malawi is the only thing they have. They have nothing else. What I mean by that is if you have to go into a conflict, the country go into a conflict, you then become a refugee in other countries. You will never be a South African. You will never be a Zimbabwean. You'll always be a Malawian. So whatever comes out of this election, they have to sit down as Malawian and resolve it themselves. Yes, we know, we have seen Mozambique, the post-election conflict. It's not really a good thing for the country. There are many ways. All I can say to them, Malawi have systems. We have seen in 2019. I think they have a very good legal system. I would urge the Malawians to follow all those processes if they have any grievances against these elections. I submit.
Prof, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for giving us your thoughts as an observer of these very important elections.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's Professor Kula Ishmael Theletsane, who's the Director of the Organ on Politics, Defence and Security Affairs at SADC Secretariat, and they were looking at the Malawi elections, and so far he's giving it a thumbs up, but there's still a few yards to go before they give a full report. It's time now for your news headlines, and